Starting back in the summer, we were excited to welcome a lot of newcomers into our program. Felt like our staff did a great job targeting people that fit our program and what we're looking for across the board, both on and off the court. I feel like this group has done a really good job connecting with each other and playing extremely unselfishly. So we have a lot of work to do in many areas, but if you go back to the summer to where we are now as a group, I feel like the players have done a great job creating connection and building cohesion. And, obviously we're all a work in progress every day, and, we're just focused on getting better every time we touch that floor.
Isaac, talk about the honor of being the preseason player of the year.
Obviously, I'm grateful. God's blessed me to be in a position like that. And obviously, anytime that you get an honor, you should be grateful. But just the way that I'm wired and the way I've grown up, my family keeps me pretty humble. My coaching staff, they keep me humble too. But just inwardly, I'm not really overly excited. Preseason #1 seed, preseason player of the year, there's a whole year, and no one's even tipped the basketball off. So for me, my job is to come in here every day and try to improve as a player and as a leader and let the chips fall where they may. But I want to win a Summer League championship. I don't care if I ever get another honor, as long as I can hoist up the trophy with my teammates and we can cut net. So, I'm grateful. God's put me in a great position to have that honor, but it really doesn't mean as much to me as it may mean to, you guys. But I appreciate you guys for the support.
What went into your decision to come back?
Obviously, when you step on this campus, you can feel it, the community. I'm a believer too, so I felt like going to another campus, the instilled values and beliefs that other coaching staffs may have, they don't match up in a line with Coach Springmann and Coach Patterson and the rest of the coaching staff. Allow me to be fully myself, but allow me to be able to be connected to God. The spiritual aspect within our team is a big thing, and so that's what we emphasize on. So the way that they coach and the brand of basketball that we play is built around the love of Jesus Christ, so that's a big part. Also, I have a lot of mentors here, a lot of family here, and just basically all the support. Like, whenever I got the preseason player of the year thing, it seems like my phone was blown up to the point where I didn't even want to get on it for an hour. But that's the type of love that you get. And whether I have a bad game or a good game, those people are still around me, and they care about my spiritual part of who I am more than they care about me averaging this amount of stats or something like that. So when you mix all that together, that makes a young man want to come back. Home and family is big to me. So this place is my home. This place is my family. So obviously, why would you want to go anywhere else? And when I sat down, this was the best option for me. So that's why I came back.
Being a portal guy already, though, did it help putting your name in and then being able to see that type of stuff and know that ORU is your home?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can get in the portal to see other options. I had a former teammate, Max Asmus. He was able to get into the portal, see what type of options it was and for competition and things like that. But looking at last year's schedule and how Coach Springmann put it together, we're playing a non-conference schedule that's pretty tough. So people will get to see my teammates and they'll get to see me on a large scale. Hopping in the portal, I got to see some of the sales that other coaches were pushing out. And not to throw anyone under the bus, but I mean, after being in the portal 2 times, you kind of get to see, what's real and what's not. And what's real was here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Coach Springmann and the staff. So, I mean, you have to go with what you know and who's real and who loves and supports you. So, yeah, being in the portal those 2 times helped me be able to differentiate between, where I need to be and, you know what I'm saying. So,
Coach, having 10 newcomers, how does it help to have a guy like Isaac around that, guys can kind of look at to see what the standard is here at ORU?
I think if we only had one newcomer, it'd be great to have Isaac back. You don't have enough time for me to tell you how much he brings to the table, and I think you can tell by listening to him who he is as a person. And even the deflection from individual attention immediately to team accomplishment, right? I want to cut down nets. I don't care if I receive another honor. I want to win a championship. And, the fact that he's sincere about that means a lot to our program. And he's immediately looked up to, first of all, because of his ability, right? That's just natural. But then when people get to know him, there's a level of respect that he earns because of who he is as a person, and then also because of his work ethic. I mean, I literally have to tell him, hey, you can't come in the gym 3 times tomorrow because of the volume of what he's doing. And I've said this to him, he gets off the floor at a high level, right? Well, your legs only have so many bounces in them in a week. We need them when we go in there. So his work ethic's unbelievable. It doesn't matter what he did the day before. He's got a relentless competitive spirit where he's always trying to find ways to get better. And as a leader, I think that's necessary. And that's what happens is other people are learning what he puts into it and what they need to put into it. And obviously we all benefit from that.
Got a lot of newcomers this year. What sticks out the most about that, and how are you instilling this culture here into them? And guys like McBride being able to help with that.
I think the first part was in the recruiting. And I'm not being disrespectful to anybody that was here in the past. We were more intentional. I felt like the first time got thrown into the portal, like right after being introduced, and it's like, okay, here we go. I felt like I was in a blender. And I know for me personally, I didn't dig in as much as I should have. And I would say the staff did a really good job digging in more this time around. And I really believe this. I said, look, character is non-negotiable, right? You have to be of high character or you're not going to be here. So like take that out of the equation. Then the next part was they need to love to play. They should be passionate about playing the game. We're all incredibly blessed for what the game has provided us. And in their situation, being a Division I athlete, being able to receive an education based on your physical ability is truly a blessing. And having guys that appreciate those gifts was something that was important to us. Another part was being extremely competitive, right? We wanted a competitive spirit. And then the last part was we over me, right? I don't care what your talent level is if there's a level of selfishness involved. So I don't know where we are in all those areas. Time will tell. But I do know we were much more intentional about putting this group together and assembling a team instead of collecting talent. There's a significant difference between those two. And I do believe this, like our culture is really 4-pillared, but one's a non-negotiable. It's Christ-centered. Like everything begins with Christ. And then there's commitment, there's competitiveness, and there's connection. And that's something that, I hope we're doing a good job of preaching on a regular basis. And to me, culture, it's interesting, right? Like people say culture, I think it's more of an atmosphere. And the atmosphere changes. Climate changes. I'm not getting into that, but, it's ongoing. It's dynamic, and you have to adjust accordingly. But when you go back to your pillars in leadership, especially coming from somebody who's accomplished like Mackey, it makes a significant difference. So I do think we have a lot of newcomers, but they've adjusted well up to this point to the expectations that we have.
What went into your non-conference scheduling, and what type of goals do you set?
We ended up in a situation that we obviously had no idea we were going to get into. We had a scheduled game that ended up being adjusted, which put us in a different situation than what we had originally planned. I won't go into detail on that. I feel like these guys want to play a very difficult non-conference schedule, and we owe it to them to do that, also providing a balance as well. So, like last year, I believe it was Mackey that was asking about, are we playing Texas Tech? Because he had heard we might. Yeah, we're going to play Texas Tech. Are we playing Kansas State? Yes, we're playing Kansas State. And I'm grateful that we get to do that here and play those games here. But again, we've got to balance that out. And I think our non-conference schedule is extremely challenging. When you add, you've got 4 Power 4, Power 5. I'm not sure what, that's actually called now. And then you got Conference USA, you've got American with Tulsa, you've got Missouri Valley with Belmont. So, I do think there's significant challenges in front of us, but, we welcome that. And I think it's only going to help us get more prepared for conference play.
What did you maybe learn about yourself from year one, and you can reflect on now as you go into year two?
I learned I made a lot of mistakes. I learned, I mean, there's so many things. I can't tell you how many things I wrote down and how many things that I've evaluated on my own, from lack of substitutions to calling timeouts sooner to feeling like we need to be more difficult to play against to like honestly going against who I've always believed I am. I got caught in the middle at times of, hey, there's guys returning from something that's different than what I am. And then how do I manage that? And, you know, the Bible talks about if you're lukewarm, you get spit out, I believe. I'm not trying to misquote scripture, but I'm pretty sure it's along those lines. And it felt like for me, that's what happened. I got caught being lukewarm in some areas that I shouldn't have been. God willing, I won't make that mistake again. But I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot that I have to do better to honor this program and what it's accomplished and help it get to where it needs to be and stay. And again, there's not enough time you'd be here until the end of the afternoon. You need a Snickers bar from that commercial, right? So, but I promise you, I've evaluated myself every way I possibly can.
Isaac, you've obviously been a part of a lot of successful teams here at ORU. Have you taken a lot of time to reflect on that success and think about that this is your last go-around and the memories that you've made here?
No, not really. I'm kind of focused on the now and the present. I mean, obviously, during the summer, I'll talk to some of my homeboys that were on the team from teams past and previous, and we'll reminisce, but I don't have no time. Just how I am, like, I really don't like to, like, look back too much, because I feel like everything that I've done or everything that we've done is kind of in the past. But I will remember moments to be able to get me over a hump. So say we lose 3 games in a row, I'll probably remember a specific practice where it was extremely hard, where there was something instilled in me that made me be able to become resilient during certain game situations. But I don't really think upon, like, you know, like the championships or the win streaks or anything like that. It's more on like things in the past that have actually been challenging, that have made me have to grow up in as terms of a basketball player. So when I reminisce and I think of like teams of the past, I think of what was instilled in me in the tough moments that helped me be able to overcome some of the things that I want to accomplish or some of the things that I'm going through right now. So that's a great question, but hopefully I hit some parts of that question on the head. Or was that kind of where you were? But yeah, that's basically all I want to do. Like, if I'm going to remember something, I want to remember something that had to do with a tougher time so that I can be able to pull through in some situations this year when it gets tougher. But, yeah.
Does your body feel like a fifth year?
No, my body feels great. You know, right now, obviously, I have a little tweak and like, my ankle or something like that, and I'll get over it. But, like, in terms of my body, like, I told someone at the Summer League Media Day in South Dakota, I was like, my heart is just, if it's time to go, it's time to go. Like, when the lights are on, like, obviously, like, I mean, you have to listen to your body, but I feel like in some situations, like, my heart is just a lot bigger. Fatigue-wise, like, when Coach was talking about, like, one of the mistakes he thinks he made was the 40 minutes, and Coach is tough on himself, so he's going to put the blame on himself. So it was up to me to ask for subs and things like that. But playing me 40 minutes down the stretch, like, people were asking me, like, what's up with your body, fatigue? Like, I was like, no, like, my heart allows me to be able to stay in there. Like, I'm not even thinking about me being tired. So as far as my body goes, yeah, I'm 23. I'm good. So my body should be fine, yeah.
Isaac, during your previous years at ORU before last year, Max was pretty much the focus of from the opposing teams.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, you were their focus primarily. Having gone through that last year, do you feel better prepared going into this season to be in that position this year? You know, being the opponent's focus.
I don't even really look at it like that. Coach Springmann, Coach Patterson, and the rest of the coaching staff give us a great game plan. I focus on the game plan and I adjust accordingly to whatever the defense or the offense may be doing. I think in terms of like being the focus, I try not to put myself as like, oh, Matthew, you're the focus tonight, because then that paralyzes your game. I don't prepare for the defense to stop me. I don't prepare for the offense to blow by me. I prepare to be able to be the best that I can be for my team, try to play the hardest that I can. And like Coach Patterson said yesterday, playing hard covers a multitude of sins in terms of basketball-wise. So I don't think about being the focal point. there's a inward confidence that I feel like when I step on the floor, for my team, I can be the best player on the floor for my team that day, God willing. So, yeah, the focal point of teams, they can spend their whole time. I hope they don't spend an hour and a half talking about Isaac McBride, because if they do, with the players that they've recruited, they're going to lose every game. But, that doesn't faze me. I'm not looking at it like that, but I'm prepared for whatever Coach Springmann and the team wants me to do, and I'll be ready to help my team. So, thank you.
This is for either one of you, but Mebby Center is a pretty electric place to play. So tell us what it means to be back in Mebby Center again this year and how that atmosphere can impact this team.
I'll let you go first. I've been yapping the whole time.
We've been blessed to have tremendous support in the Mabee Center. I believe it starts on campus with our students. I feel like each year we average just under 1,000 students per game. The time and the energy that the leaders on campus have put into attracting students has certainly benefited us. At one point a year ago, we had the longest home winning streak in the country. So the next part of it to me is the surrounding community. I feel like we've gotten tremendous support from the community. And then the last part would be, in the region. I think we've been blessed to have people that are just diehard Oral Roberts fans. You go to different functions and you listen to people talk about their experiences here, and some of them have been coming to home basketball games literally since 1976, and they don't miss a game. So we're thankful for all of those groups and the continued support that we have. Even around the country, I got an email from a guy who's involved with the Detroit Lions a couple years ago, just commenting on the team because he's a proud ORU alum. So it's definitely a home court advantage that we're thankful for, and we want to honor everybody who comes into the building by just giving everything we can. We talk about all you got all the time, no matter what, and that's what we owe to everybody that comes in that building.
You touched on a little bit of the transfer portal side of things. What about the freshmen and recruiting them into this atmosphere?
That's something I'm a firm believer in. I feel like, and the landscape has changed dramatically. I feel like there are really good high school players that have an opportunity to come in and impact winning. And I feel like we as a staff have to make sure that we're evaluating high school players and not just saying, hey, we're just going to be 100% transfer portal. With Luke Gray obviously being an Oklahoma kid, there was a lot of fanfare around Luke. And I would say similar to Mackey in this regard in terms of where his faith is and how important his faith is to him and his family. That combination to me made him an outstanding fit for our program. I said this up in South Dakota. The first question I got was, how does he compare to Blake Griffin? And I said, nobody should do that to Luke. I think that's been unfair to him for a long time. I think you should give him credit for breaking a record that was established by an incredible player in Blake Griffin, but it should end there. There shouldn't be a comparison. They're two totally different players at two totally different times in college basketball. Let him be Luke, and I would encourage everybody to do that. I think that's what's best for him. And then JoJo Moore, I'll be honest, I'd gone to Texas to see a guard. And then when I came back, a friend of mine said, hey, I think something's getting ready to happen. I know who you just went to see. You're going to like this kid if he becomes available. So anyway, found out he was available, talked to his high school coach, got a ton of positive feedback, and then I just had to wait until he was officially released in order to have the opportunity to go down there, and was really encouraged by what I saw. And again, he's a young man of faith. He's got two parents that are pastors, and he's got a relentless competitive spirit. Like, he might be overly competitive at times. I don't know if that's possible, but I do think he can, find that edge. But very, very gifted, and has got a chance to be. He's a good player, but I think he's got a chance to be really, really good as time goes on.
You touched on Luke. Does it help bring in that physicality, a guy that played football also in high school?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of kids that play football, and I'm not taking a shot at basketball players or the combination of baseball and basketball, but typically there's a different mentality right? Like football players typically embrace physicality. And I do think at 6'7", 235 pounds, I think he's roughly in that range. I'd have to ask Coach Decker. But like Luke's physical presence is not normal for a freshman. And I give him a ton of credit. Back to the blender comment I made earlier, the first week of the summer, I think that's exactly what Luke felt like. It was just everything's going so fast and it's so different, but you don't get to hit pause. It just keeps coming. And I think to his credit, he's really worked to adjust and learn. And he's very hard on himself. He's got a very high expectation of himself, which is a good thing, but trying to get him to understand there's going to be a process that you have to go through. We all do, right? I don't care, who you are. You go through a process anytime you transition from one situation to the next. And he's done a good job transitioning. And I do think part of it is that football mentality where you got to get ready for the next play.
There's lots of new faces. Are there any new or exciting personalities or playing styles that you guys are excited for fans to be able to see on the court?
I'm going to let you take that one.
Carlos Rosario, just some of the stuff that he does, he's kind of goofy, but it's also like fun to be around because he provides energy. After the stretching, he always will yell or do something, charismatic. Toki, definitely, that's going to be a fan favorite. Everybody that we brought in is going to be a fan favorite. Like, everyone's going to love him. Like, you guys are going to eat him up. There'll be a lot of clips for you guys to clip up after dunks or 3-point celebrations and things like that. But, those two especially, Sam, amazing person. Everyone that we brought in has a personality. I think that's why we'll be so successful too, because their personalities that care and things like that. So yeah, pretty much everybody, but definitely those two, Carlos and Toki, will be they'll be fan favorites this year for sure.
Is it refreshing to have that on the team?
It is, because not everything is there's a serious part of it, but then definitely when it's time to wind down and kind of take your mind off the game and things like that, those guys will definitely be able to create energy. But then when it's time to get serious, they'll still be able to create the right type of energy within the environment that we're in. So having that, all successful teams have that. So I'm glad that we have more of that this year. So.